Well, welcome back to the Oasis Podcast. I am John Mark Yoder. This is Wayne Weaver, and we are speaking about challenges to communication. And we spoke in our last episode about the importance of waiting, being sure that we understand what is being spoken, and not even jumping in with every question that is asked of us. Really listening to see if people are ready for this. And I think there are some really interesting aspects that we could look at in Scripture. And Wayne, we'll just jump right in. Ecclesiastes 1:8 says, "All things are full of labor. Man cannot utter it." Even our communication, we have to labor at that. But it says, "The eye is not satisfied with seeing, nor the ear filled with hearing." That's kind of an interesting thing. And then 2 Timothy 3:7 talks about people, it actually says they're silly people who are ever learning and never able to come to the knowledge of the truth. So when I think of these things, I think of communication in the home and in the church, and these are some areas where I think many times we take in and we consume a lot of information. We hear a lot of talk. But our ears are never filled with that. We almost always struggle to come to grips with what is really truth and what we're hearing, or many times. And we need the Spirit of God in that. But you were talking about this whole thing. We talked briefly about giving what is holy, or not speaking to people who can turn and rend us.
Right.
How do we communicate with these truths, knowing these truths? The eye is not satisfied with seeing, the ear is not filled with hearing. Right. How do we navigate communicating in the home and in the church with people, even in the business place? There's so many opportunities to hear things, to jump to conclusions, or to just tune people out. There are some people that will talk and we just sort of tune them out. They could talk all day and you just don't hear them. Their words don't mean anything. How do we combat that?
And so this is again where I speak about the intrinsic value. I sometimes think I'm not communicating this correctly. The importance of having intrinsic value of every aspect in our life. So it used to be the gold standard, and I think I don't need to go into the details what that means. But for every dollar you have in a bill, a treasury bill, there has to be $1 worth of gold sitting somewhere. And it works same with the check system. The check system is a piece of paper, and it really doesn't amount to anything. It's less than a penny for a check, but it's not in what is in the check. It's what is in the bank.
That's what is in reserve, yes.
Yeah, that's intrinsic value. And so intrinsic value, I think, I came across these people and was good friends to some of these people that were so powerful in the kingdom. And Derek Prince would have been one of those. He can say so little, say so much. All right, where does that come from? Bracy Greer, another one. You just sit with him for a couple minutes. It was just like impactful. He goes to an extent to make sure that he is not over speaking and that his words all have weight. Now, that takes some understanding. He was a great communicator that way. On the other hand, that type of thing you can't always use. Doesn't always use just or over the pulpit. You cannot be so few words that most people are guessing what you're wanting to say all the time. So you have to be able to do some of each. And that's what I see. And I know some of the problems that he had in his own church at home was right along the line of communication. And yet he was a really good communicator, but he communicated well to my heart. Not so with everyone. And so, but I prayed. I prayed many times about this. How can I speak less and say more? Because typically in the world of having any kind of authority, spiritual authority, not meaning this kind of authority, but heaven-backed authority, has to do with intrinsic value, has to do with what's already happened in your heart. You can speak above your head. And to me, it's a waste of words. If you speak about things and describe things that might be profound, and but it's empty if it doesn't have gold inside your heart. Mm-hmm. And that's that. I wish I could communicate this. Lord, help me to say this, because
challenges of communication.
Yeah, this is a real challenge. Yeah. But I have learned that if somebody asks me a question, or even in church, when I speak, some people say, well, if I say that, I'm afraid people will get hurt. I have learned in my heart that if you have no intention to hurt, it will not hurt. But it's in here. If you have an intention to hurt, and you might even try to skirt your words, you will hurt. Because out of the heart, the mouth speaks. So people have a sense of what is in here. That's where the intrinsic value is. What you have in here is what communicates. Mm-hmm. All right? Now, you can maybe hurt somebody for a little bit, but I'm talking about, this is what I found in life. And occasionally I have people call me. Somebody just did the other week again. How do I communicate this to someone? And I just said like this: do you have it in your heart to hurt? Was it something to get even with? Well, then that's what's going to happen, regardless what you say. But if you don't have it in your heart, if it's love, it is received as love. I have a lot of confidence in that. Check your heart before you say it. Know why you're saying it. Why am I saying this? What is in me that cannot rest until I say this? You see what I'm saying? Make sure that is from God. And the other thing, are you able to put something on the back burner? Or will it stew and stew and stew until it explodes? There's a bit of news that comes around with something dramatic, and you just don't feel you have to tell someone, because once it builds up. And all I want is you just see one person and you tell them, now don't tell anyone, all right? Then you inject. And then you can kind of rest, all right? That's what I find. Those are gossip people, and they thrive on that. Their feelings build up, and they go to someone, and then it could be a venom, and then it goes into them, then they're affected the same way. This is the intrinsic value. If the value in your heart is to hurt someone, if the value in your heart is to explode, that's what will happen in the other person's heart, or will have that effect on the other person's heart. You want to stop gossip, take your time, cool down, slow down, and if you still need to say it, then I guess it's up to you. But a lot of time, gossip comes in a quick of a moment. Oh, did you just find out? You know what I just heard? And right now you need to tell everyone else. See, it's a form of communication, but that is the many words that I see in communication. There is no lack of sin there. Mm-hmm. If you cannot sit back and just retain that, you don't have to say it right away. Let it settle down. Let it quiet. And if it's still important to say, then that's up to you. But if you want intrinsic value of communication in your heart, you have to be able to say no to that. Mm-hmm. Because that's really where the quality is. That's where the gold is. And the Bible talks about this gold tried in the fire. That gold, that's simply God speaking. That he counsels of us to buy gold that has been tried in the fire. Some of those fires are, they're hard, they're deep, they're hurtful, they wound, but it's refinement. And out of this refinement is where words come, where communication comes that is life-changing to people. Mm-hmm. And it's so important. In the ministry, it's so important. In the early years of a ministry, I, of course, did not have that. And I still need much more of it, but I do know that God has done some working in my heart so that it's my conviction that every word that I speak as I'm communicating ministry is life-changing. That's why you don't hear me say jokes.
And I think that one of the things that you will see in
saying jokes over the pulpit.
Yes.
I just don't do that. Yeah.
I think one of the things that you will see, glad you clarified
that. Because I'll say jokes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, but not over the pulpit.
But as you look at communication like that when you were younger? You mentioned when
Yeah.
you were younger, you maybe were not as, you didn't, you were maybe quicker to speak in some things and more bold in, and not bold, that's not a good word, but you
I
were,
was.
but
I was bold, yeah.
But is it something like when you begin to work? I know when I worked construction, I tried to hustle like crazy, and I worked my tail off, and it just seemed like I was always still behind. And then as I learned how to handle things, as I learned how to handle material, and I learned how to use the tools, suddenly my actions counted for something. Is that a little bit the way it is with words and communication?
Well, it is. On the other hand, also, may I say this, that through miscommunication on my part, I got hurt many times. But it was me. I miscommunicated. I didn't mean it that way. And as a result, you become very wise. And there's certain things, you shouldn't say that. And right now, even, I know that when certain things are said, maybe over the pulpit, I know that it doesn't sit good with these people or those people. I know that because I have had inner dealings with them. You see what I'm saying? So it causes you to have a sense of wisdom by way of experience, and knowledge by way of experience. Because if I make a certain statement, well, it just guards me. It just guards me because when I know that, you talk about the gifts of the Holy Spirit. Just say the poison word to a lot of people, the word tongues. And right now you can really stir up some things in our old generation. Now, not so much. But right now the gander went up in people. So there's other ways to say that. You just don't have to mention the word, maybe just talk about the gifts of the Spirit, and there's 7 of them. That way. Well, then the person will come to you and say that, well, do you also believe that tongues would be one of them? All right, they opened the door, now I can speak. Many times that to me is a real secret to communication. You let them open the door. If they come to you with a question, now you can speak. So I got a phone call this week from it was from somebody that needed some help, needed some advice. And it was somebody that I typically would not get calls from. But, and when I got the warning that somebody's want to get in touch with me, the person even said, now, I don't know, is this to throw things at you or what? And he was wanting to be protective and say that, well, I'm not giving you the number and I said, no, I'm good with it. It's okay. I can handle it. That's fine. And so, but it then had to do with something personal, some personal issues that he was facing. Yeah. But in that case, I was made aware that maybe there is an issue based on a background understanding that I had of prior things, that maybe this is something that will, be an argument or so forth. And my thing was, well, no, I'm ready for that. I'm not going to argue, but I know the word, and I'm open to just hear. And not only that, if I'm wrong in something, I want to know. It's not defensive for me to be wrong that I have to put my defenses up. But my thing is, well, okay, so you think I'm wrong? Yeah, I do. Okay, well, persuade me different. Tell me where I'm wrong so I understand as well. And I'm willing to change. That's so often the problem with communication. People are not willing to change. They have one side of a view, and that's their own view, and they were not going to be listening to, because they look at it as being a dagger against you. It's not that way.
Well, I think there is a lot of that actually touches.
Can be, but it doesn't.
Touches the insecurity that many of us feel. And I think insecurities play a big part in miscommunication.
It does, yeah.
When I assume that you mean something that is damaging to me, or that you are doing something that will benefit you but hurt me.
Right.
There's a distrust and a lack of security in that. And I think that hinders communication.
Yeah. I said something in the last, or one of the latter podcasts, that I thought of, I wonder how you took that. But I didn't qualify it, and I didn't mean you at all. And probably if I would have meant you, I probably wouldn't have said it.
I don't even know what you were.
People that move in. with ulterior motives. And you moved in from Canada, and I never thought of you as being one of those. But there are some people that do that. And my thing is, give them 5 years. I've learned that. Give them 5 years. And I thought afterwards, I wonder how John took that. He could have thought I'm talking to him.
No, I didn't actually, because you mentioned
we
I
know
think
each
now,
other.
Yeah,
See, there's the difference. And that also speaks of a relationship, which to me is very important. I will not correct someone. Excuse me. I've learned I will not correct someone if I have no relationship with them. Because if I correct someone and have no relationship with them or him or her, you know what will happen? Rebellion sets up. And if I want to avoid that, you have to have a relationship first. There's some things that have happened in church in past history here that all at once, whoa, this is this is wrong. This is wrong. I said, but you know what? That's a person I just don't have a relationship with. And so I worked 6 months to establish a relationship with that person. And after 6 months, then I spoke, and it was okay. It was something that happened and continued on and was person was doing. So communication by way of relationship is important. If you just up and tell someone, hey, stop that, they don't know what all do I stop? I don't know this man. He's grim. He's quick. He is, but with a relationship, then you know what you can say and when to say it. Here's another thing that I think we as people need to learn is we are always in a hurry. We get a little burden on our heart, and right now we think we have to act right now. And there's times perhaps, but when it has to do with a relationship, you might not have to act that quick. Give it time. Give it time. Mm-hmm. See if there's fever in it, heat, if there's fever in it, or if there isn't. If you give it time, the heat dies, and then it wasn't important. See what I mean? Mm-hmm. And as pastors, and as 40 years of experience,
so important.
That is just one of the very keys that now if you're dealing with an employee that did something wrong and they broke this and they broke that and they broke that and they broke that, well, that's a little bit different. You're paying them. But something like this where it's differences of opinion perhaps in a church, but you need to establish a relationship first before you can say anything. And the other thing, excuse me, I can say this many times, but not in a way of confrontation. I can do it in a way of teaching. I saw that many times that, you know what, this is a weak spot. Here's one of the things that I thought of already in teaching. I noticed that people's generations, what the generation that you were raised in, all right, and you have your conviction on all of the above, but then their children lose that. But then I see that, and I know that there's people that walk around having great concerns for their children, but then the children are not taught certain things concerning maybe modesty and that when they're really young, because they can get away with anything. And at what point will you then instill in that child, all right, girls, you need to be modest. But when they're little girls, it doesn't matter. Doesn't the Bible say that raise up a child the way they should go? It doesn't say a young youth, it says a child. So from way young, say for instance, how should I say? I mean, little children, they're above diapers, but nowadays you see little girls with little mini skirts. It was just the way it is. But at what point will you say that that's wrong now or you shouldn't do it? And I think this goes way back down. When do you teach that? Do you go up to a person that you see is maybe doing that and you go, hey, you know what you're sowing here? Or do you maybe do a generalization of a teaching where many people benefit? Sometimes your communication has to be done that way. Then it's not singled out. Mm-hmm. If you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, I do. And the other thing is, I've discovered is that if one person is struggling, there probably are a few that will benefit from that.
Yeah.
Wow, this is so good. We're going to actually need to bring this episode to a close. So many good things. I would love to hear in your comments if you're listening. Just post What do you think? What is the most difficult miscommunication in the church, with a spouse, at work? We'd love to hear from you. So send us your thoughts on what is the most difficult or the easiest place to miscommunicate. But until the next episode, we just wish you God's blessing, and may He give grace as you communicate with each other. And God bless you until next time.